everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much to IDB Lab for giving us this incredible stage to talk about what we do, or what we try to do, or at least what we try to do well. And Marcos is here to tell us what we don't do well and what we can do better. So just, watch yourselves. I've been hearing it since he arrived in Miami. There's going to be a lot of that. So thank you so much for the introductions. Just kind of a little bit of the framing of what we'll talk about today, and then we'll watch a short video, which hopefully you'll find as amusing and educating as we do. We are going to talk about the phenomenon of digital nomads in Central Latin America. We'll talk about some of the ecosystems that are supporting that environment, and how we can do better, and how we can actually leverage some of the incredible assets that are developing in Central Latin America towards building a more active ecosystem, driving more investments and more innovation and growth. So thank you again, and we're going to show a short video.
I've been traveling the world for a little over a year now. I'm relearning how much of a social person I am, because for a while I was not. It was a mixed reaction with my family, because for them, digital nomad is not a thing. They're like, well, what about work? How are you going to survive? But I've been freelancing. What's the difference? You can do whatever you want as long as you're getting your work done. When you're in a hub with other digital nomads, that's how you start collaborating. It allows you to meet people, it allows you to connect with people, and get to know them better than some of your friends that you've known for years. I know people that are stuck wanting to travel and thinking, I can't afford to. I have to do work, I have to do this. No, you don't need any of that. It's all about mindset and willing to change and willing to embrace those changes. If you want to go travel, just put your mindset out there. I want to go travel, and something will happen.
I love this video, I gotta say. But I'm a little biased. So actually we have here the COO of Selena, who will share a little bit about the phenomenon and what's happening across the different Selenas in the world. But actually what I wanted to start with, if that's okay with you, if you can share a little bit about Selena's activity and what you guys are focused on, and what made Selena this incredible platform for digital nomads.
Great, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. Excited to talk to you about this this phenomenon. And Selena is what we're building with Selena is a global ecosystem for the next generation of travelers to stay, play, work, and live. And the ecosystem is today in 20 countries. We have 90 operating properties very concentrated in Latin America. In Latin America, we have 60 properties. And the Selena product really caters to remote workers and to digital nomads through the type of accommodation that we offer, the full co-working spaces, food and beverage spaces, retail, wellness spaces, and it's a whole experience that comes with a stay at Selena, much more so than a traditional accommodation.
Well, I can tell you from experience, with someone who's been traveling through the Selena as a digital nomad for a while, it's life-altering, especially what's happening the last couple of years with the pandemic and everything. I feel like it's become a home away from home in a way that elevates your lifestyle and opens more opportunities versus kind of focused on the challenges. So it's really great. Just want to congratulate you. It's doing an amazing job.
Thank you, thank you. And one of the things that we do at Selena is we really try to bring the local community into the location, and so that when travelers are staying there, they really feel like they're part of that local community through programming, through content and experiences that we bring into the property from the local community.
It's amazing. Well, I'm going to go to you. First of all, again, thank you so much for joining us. So I know that you kind of relocated or kind of expanded your operation and built the venture city here in Miami. Kind of love to hear from you how you feel that ecosystem is evolving and more opportunities developing in Central Latin America. Does that affect the conversation here locally in Miami as to what to invest in, how to approach that market, what kind of opportunities are coming from that space?
Sure. So I'm originally from Spain, so I landed in San Francisco first, I have to say. And after 5 years there, I was like, something is missing here. and I've always loved to build things from scratch. So I was going on one of my last projects at Facebook on my way to Cuba, and I had to stop by Miami. And I got to meet a lot of the people that are kind of like the seed of what you're seeing today in Miami. The Emerge Americas team, the Endeavor team, 500 Startups team. Back then, they were already doing amazing things. And I was like, there's a lot of potential here, right? We don't have yet as many entrepreneurs or the density that we would love to have, but we have the mindset, we have the support. You can access anyone in Miami very easily, just like what used to happen in San Francisco a long time ago. And I was like, if there's a place where I want to build my next thing, it's not going to be Madrid, sadly. It's not going to be San Francisco. It's going to be Miami. So I took my 3 kids, my dog, my husband, his business, and we brought it to Miami. And we started the Venture City with the premise that talent is universal, but opportunity is not. And a lot of what I was seeing, and I am still seeing today, is that people don't realize that the next wave of unicorns are not going to be coming from traditional tech hubs. They're coming already. In fact, the unicorn tracker shows that we have way more unicorns outside San Francisco, New York, Berlin, or Israel than, from outside those places than from these ecosystems, right? So, and that's what we did. And here we are, 4 years in, 150 companies that we have supported and helped growth. Fund 3, built by 2 Hispanas in the US, Inmigrantes, Española and Argentina. And that was already 4 years ago. So what I see here is access. A lot of people want to learn. A lot of people want to help you. The pandemic has favored the fact that you no longer have to be a bike ride away in Sand Hill Road from San Francisco to get invested. I think that everybody has realized that tech is the future. It's impossible not to think that way. And a lot of those that are building the next thing are here in Miami. I'm talking about the crypto community, DeFi. I'm talking about a lot of different things.
Verticals, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's, and having experienced Europe, San Francisco, this is the place to be.
Well, I definitely agree. Before we go back to the guy who's going to teach us what's actually happening on the ground, we're talking about you, Mr. Dantus. I would like to go back to Miami being a gateway to Central Latin America, because what happened, the pandemic and everything else the last couple of years really shifted the divide, as we refer to it, and everything, the ecosystem is coming here. We're looking at new verticals that are expanding, new investment opportunities we didn't even think about, trends we didn't expect or anticipate. And obviously a lot of interesting people coming out here, not just funding, but actual companies and ideas. Miami has also become a gateway to more and more. It has always been a gateway to Latin America, but it's become a bridge, right? So if we look at San Francisco, look at Europe, look, a lot of people are coming out to Miami and then looking at Miami as a bridge to Central Latin America, making it kind of a global ecosystem. So regardless of where the entrepreneur or the startup is, to your point, you can find interesting investment opportunities anywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. So now it's our job to make sure they have the access that they need, right? So speaking of access, Mr. Marcus Dantus, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm excited to have him sitting next to me, I gotta say. I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you for the excitement.
So I can basically say, teach us how it's supposed to be done or how you did it, and then we can continue from there. But I think what's important for us is for someone experienced in Latin American market, innovation, building an ecosystem like you have, where do you think the challenges are, and how do you think these opportunities can be monetized further? How can we help the ecosystem grow using the new structures that are happening?
So there's a lot of good stuff happening in Latin America, but indeed there are some challenges. Mm-hmm. And I think that the challenges can be divided into 2 sides. One is cultural, and the other one is more systemic, if you will. So culturally, I would say that Latin America still faces stuff like, intolerance of failure. Or in the case of many countries like Mexico, punishment of success. We are adverse to risk, although that is changing now that unicorns are happening. So there's a lot of that. Systemic-wise, I think that the biggest problem is that Latin America is very much shifting to populism. So you have corruption, which of course creates this lack of confidence in institutions. You have stuff like populism that creates this bad environment, and you have a lack of understanding sometimes from many governments in what entrepreneurship really means and how it can generate prosperity. So that's the bad thing. The good thing, and I think the unstoppable thing, is that you have a ton of talent, you have a ton of youth. Latin America in general, it's around 50% of people, under 29 years old. The median is 27. There's half of the population is in working age, so that those two things are called a demographic bonus.
Asset,
And it's not only youth; these are talented youths. These are, university enrollment has grown about 3 times in the last 15 years.
So what's the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge is again, it's believing that we can do this and creating a lasting ecosystem that permeates and continues this further. I think that's the biggest challenge, and creating institutions that people can believe in.
When I look at the overall, and just for those of you who don't know, so TechnoArt is a global innovation platform. We're in multiple locations around the world, and now we're expanding our activity to Central Latin America. The main keyword that I see consistently across conversations in all places, whether it's Miami or San Francisco or New York or Tel Aviv, which I'm originally from, is access. Right? It feels like there's lack of access to either educational tools, investors, knowledge, and it obviously affects the confidence. I think one of the biggest advantages that you can get at Selena, and it sounds like I'm promoting Selena here, I apologize. I am, though, a fan, just to be clear, but that's not, I'm as objective as you can be, is that you can meet anyone there from anywhere, right? Because a lot of people were traveling through Central Latin America through the Selenas as digital nomads or other locations. And then you get exposure to other people, right? You get exposure to just overall like conversations on the bar, right? That's kind of the, so that's a very interesting aspect. Laura, how do you see that model? Can we replicate that model in other ecosystems, in other locations?
Hell yeah. I mean, talent doesn't have a zip code.
Oh, wow, I like that one.
It never did have a zip code. They made us think that it did, but it didn't. Look, when I landed in San Francisco, I was the worst student on earth in Spain. And I was, oh my God, there's a lot of Harvards and Stanfords and MITs. I was getting the job done. And I was coming from a Universidad Europea de Madrid, which nobody knows about. So talent is anywhere. And I am, I'm not obviously happy with the pandemic. But on the other side, the pandemic has proven the world that you can build from anywhere, under a coconut in the Philippines or in Mexico City, whatever. What is happening now? The top companies all over the world are building centers of talent in Argentina, in Mexico, in Colombia, in Uruguay, in Barcelona, in Lisboa, in Madrid, in Nigeria, South Africa. Why? Because the talent over there is much more productive and efficient than any other place on earth.
And hungry.
And hungry. Exactly. So.
In the sense not of hunger, but of.
No,
Yes.
they have ambition and they're looking for.
The challenge. Yep. They want to be challenged. They really want to be part of something bigger. So I think that in the next 2-3 years, the problem, it's going to be phenomenal for Latin American talent or from emerging markets talent. No matter where it is, because we are going to be able to work for those companies anywhere in the world. So talking about digital nomads, we will choose where we want to be, where we want to grow our families, and at the same time we will be able to work in the company we dream.
That is the dream. Going back to, and I completely agree, I love the talent doesn't have a zip code. I love that. That's
We
Going back to actually, yeah, so going back to your roadmap, that you was referring to, like you can be anywhere in the world. When you build out the expansion and thinking where the next Selena should be, how are the key factors in kind of making those decisions?
Well, before I answer that, I do want to continue the point around the people meeting in the ecosystem, people meeting in the co-work spaces, in the food and beverage outlets, in the programming. We see that.
You can say on the bar. That's okay.
at the bar, at the pool, we do see that, and we have a number of companies as well as people that work together as a result of meeting at our locations. The other thing that we also do see, and I definitely believe, is within Latin America, the level of energy and ambition in the youth is really noticeable. The engagement with technology in Latin America also is very, I think, ahead of many other parts of the world. So, I firmly believe in the opportunity there is in Latin America.
And just to finish that, I think one of the things that you guys bring that is essential. It's a cross-pollination of these talents.
Yeah.
This is what creates these ecosystems.
Yep.
And
yes, and especially when you have talent that's traveling from other markets. So you have, whether it's Mexicans traveling down into South America, or whether it's New Yorkers traveling into Mexico or Costa Rica, but that mixing of ideas and of talent is very valuable. To answer your question in terms of what do we look for, we look for locations and destinations that our target audience, millennials, younger travelers, where they want to be, where they want to visit, play, live, work. So we look at the map of locations around the world and destinations around the world where that demographic is interested in spending time in, whether it's for work, whether it's for surfing, whether it's for hiking, whether it's for discovering cities. That's really what we're looking for, and we're looking within the destination itself, the area of the city or the town that demographic wants to be.
That's amazing. I want to go back to the investment side for a second, because obviously we need to cultivate entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship. So it starts obviously with access to the right people, educational tools, but they also need capital at the end of the day. And obviously, we'll look at where we're sitting right now. Obviously, the IDB is doing an incredible job. But the private market, the private sector is kind of stepping in gradually. Still feels a little hesitant. But as they will get more educated and more unicorns coming out of, we've seen a lot of great growth in Mexico and Latin America. There's a growing interest. How do you see that changing the ecosystem and the entrepreneurs' want, right? The increase in want to develop?
I actually think that it's going to change for the better, definitely. I mean, one of the biggest challenges that I think that Latin America faces today is, for example, having exit strategies or success stories. And those are now happening. And once that anybody sees unicorns happening in their country, they want to participate in this. This creates a virtuous circle that will continue. There's a ton of money out there. There's a ton of money entering the game as well. So that can only bring more entrepreneurship. And by the way, there's a lot of needs still in Latin America, and a lot of creativity to solve those needs. That just needs to be put together with this money to create something really special.
So putting it together with the money, Laura, how do you feel? How can we work to bring these investors and raise their interest in investments in Latin America?
I want to add just one thing.
Of course.
I think there is a unicorn effect in the capital. The more unicorns, the more capital that learns, hey, they did it, maybe I should invest next time. But there's another one factor that I think is even more interesting, which is the unicorn effect in the founders community. Suddenly, entrepreneurs realize, whoa, he did it, so can I, And when founders that exit unicorns start investing in the next generation, is when the cycle really gets healthy, and that is when you have a Silicon Valley. When after 60 years, the new funds created, having always created by the founders that exited. So there's different types of capital, going back to your question. So the capital that comes from bankers, from private equity firms that now want to explore this crazy thing about tech or whatever it is. The capital that comes from operators, which means founders that have built
the
a company
challenges.
before, or executives in big tech that have built a business before, that is the capital that will persist.
Interesting.
The other capital, in the age of DeFi, tokenization, etc., will disappear. Basically put, the capital that does not add value to the founder will disappear. The capital that allows and gives more opportunity and adds value to the founders will remain. So it's no longer that investors choose the founders where they want to invest. We are in a moment where founders choose us because they oversubscribed. They can choose Sequoia and choosing Horowitz, the venture city. They can. So unless you put yourself into value into why, they won't choose you. And those are the ones that will stay for the next 20 years.
So you're going back to leading by example, right? You feel like that's where we need to look at the community of entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, and have them be more engaged in the startup community. Give more back to the founders, give more back to new entrepreneurs, and teach entrepreneurship. I think, again, going back to Selena, the entrepreneur, obviously the leading ones are Israeli, so it makes me very proud. Yeah, I'm a proud Israeli, as you can tell. But you build out this incredible operation. It's all as a result of entrepreneurship and a vision, right? What are the things you can tell other companies that are looking to build out in Central Latin America, expand, identify, reach their audience there?
Well, I think the most important thing always is to connect with your customer. So one of the things that, our founders are Israeli, Rafi Musari and Daniel Rudichevsky. They really very firmly were able to connect with our core demographic, and they created a brand that is to some extent created by that demographic for what they want, the experiences that they want. And they bring, our customers really bring the experiences, they bring local art, they bring local experiences into our properties. So I think first and foremost is think primarily around who your customer is and what it is that's going to get them excited and emotionally connected to your product or your brand. Then it's around sort of working on a roadmap of growth. If it's across a region, sort of what markets make sense for your product. For us in the hotel industry, there were certain cities that we wanted to be in. And then it's having a very much a local team. We really believe in local country leadership. We put a lot of effort into supporting, growing, and selecting the best country teams we can find. And we firmly believe around the world, but particularly in Latin America, having a strong local team that's connected to the local industry, to the local community, is key.
The experienced team.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant idea. Marcos, going back actually to you for a second, because you've been sharing a lot about what you think is done wrong and how you think it should be done better. So I guess the main question is what not to do, right? There are a lot of people who are coming into Central Latin America don't necessarily understand the market, local culture, and I'm being educated on that as well. What do you think are the biggest the biggest mistakes they can make, or what to avoid, what mistakes they should avoid making?
Well, everybody talks about creating Silicon Valleys everywhere, and I don't think that that's even possible. I think Silicon Valley is Silicon Valley, and I think that Latin America has, and each city where you see all these startups has a different flavor. I would think that trying to create the same type of ecosystem. So I'll give you an example. Let me be more specific. First time I raised money, the fund wanted me to spend all the money quickly in order to raise more money,
yeah, exactly.
right? And that didn't work at all. I mean, that was a really bad mistake. That I was not in an environment where that is considered, a healthy practice, if you will. So I think that you have to learn and I think that's smart what you guys are doing. I mean, you have to learn from the environment. You have to hire local people. You have to understand what happens in that environment and then adapt to it and create an ecosystem that works in that environment, not impose an ecosystem for the environment.
I think that's the biggest challenge. We're seeing it across different regions as well. And I think that's the two keys for success is understanding the market before we can step in. How do we service the market? How do you service the people in that market? And then the other aspect is giving them the right access based on their stage, right? So just making sure they have the right tools at the right time. I think that's an important aspect. But going back to leading by example for a moment. So you're doing incredible things here with the Venture City and leading by example and identifying investments. What's the next thing you're looking at in terms of trend and location?
Well, in terms of location, I think that, again, talent is location agnostic, so I don't think that's going to be. But I think that in the next 5 years, raising capital is going to be a lot easier for founders, because with all this craziness going on with crypto, etc., it's going to be a lot easier to get many people supporting you than just 3 or 5 giving you what you need. So that is going to be better for those that are building something amazing. I think that data, I mean, I am obsessed with data. I'm sorry, I have, data-driven girl, but, when I get the Crunchbase, this kind of like Anand, he sends this information to the ecosystem. One of the things that I always tell him is, why don't you look into available capital in a country versus unicorns and 500 million companies? If the world looked at that, we would have Uruguay winning, then it would be Estonia winning. It wouldn't be Silicon Valley, New York, Lisbon winning. So I think that change is going to make entrepreneurship much more accessible. My kids don't want to work for a corporate. They want to be an entrepreneur. In fact, they make more money selling lemonade on Sundays than I do with my fund already. I just spend the money. I don't earn it yet. But I think that we're going to be facing the moment where talent won't work for one company. Talent will work from different companies. There's going to be a decentralization in terms of where do I want to be spending my time on. Raising capital is going to be a lot easier for everybody, not just for the entrepreneurs, but for the funds and for those that want to help support as well. I think that the most smaller places on earth are going to surprise us all. Just Uruguay. Look at what's going on over there.
You know how happy you are making our...
I was born in Uruguay.
You were? I didn't know. You owe
That's
me a
very
beer.
exciting to hear.
I keep seeing your smile getting bigger.
So, and of course, I think that if I had something to say is take decisions based on data. Intuition is very cool at first, and it's what moves you to do something. But please, once you start growing, take decisions based on data. There's so many tools available there. And I think that if all the entrepreneurs and the fund managers, if we took decisions based on data, everything would be a lot better.
Thank you so much. I completely agree. I think definitely focus. Going back to the data aspect, what's next for Selena? When you're building it out, what's the next step? How do you expand on the vision and what you've already created?
Well, in terms of data, I definitely agree with that. That's extremely important to us, and we're always looking to get more and more data about our customers and what they're doing and the trends. So we, from a geographic standpoint, we're looking to continue to grow within Latin America. The big markets, the obvious ones, the Mexico, Brazil, are important markets that we'll continue to grow in. We are looking to expand into the Caribbean. Uruguay, we're actually opening in Punta del Este in December, so we're very excited about that. And of course, we're also growing in Europe and Israel, they're big markets, and into Australia, which is where I grew up. So we're growing in Australia, opening in December and January, some locations there. In terms of experiences, what's happening within the properties, we're always looking to bring new content, new experiences, really driven by our demographic, by our local communities. What is the most, the most important trends that our demographic is experiencing and spending time with, and looking to bring that into the locations. So that's a constantly evolving effort that we have, is to make sure that we have the most current and most relevant experiences and content for our demographic.
Well, I just want, in behalf of everyone, to thank you, really, for doing an amazing job. And again, I'm completely objective. I just want to be very clear about this. Last question for you, Marcus. In your vision, what would you like, how would you like to see the innovation ecosystem in Mexico, Central, Latin America in the next 10 years?
Oh, I don't even think it's my vision. I think it's going to happen. I think it'll be incredibly advanced. It will be much more meritocratic and democratic. I think everybody will be able to access it. And I think, if the world keeps seeing what we are seeing, how it's growing and the talent, and I think we won't even care about, what the governments do. Or I think it's going to happen by itself. It's happening already. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll grow. It'll be very successful. A lot of companies and a lot of innovation is going to come from it. And a lot of, hopefully, needs that exist now will be solved.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We're going to end with a short video of a little bit of the lifestyle: work hard, play hard, live well, combining a good, healthy lifestyle with hard work across, surprisingly, I don't know if you guys want to guess, Selena's, but just with the overall effort and work of collaborative ecosystems that are supported within that environment. So we're going to go to our final video. So much. So this is, again, thank you so much on behalf of TechnoArt. I really want to thank you guys for sharing this time with us. And thank you again for the IDB Lab for giving us the stage and giving us this moment. And would love to share more information. If you want to join us at TechnoArt Live here in Miami on Thursday the 28th, we'll be speaking to more entrepreneurs and investors about the growing ecosystem in Miami in Central Latin America. So please join us. Looking forward to seeing you.